Part 30. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 291. Having dinner at a hot pot restaurant outside, I have to say that the hot pot restaurant opened by Ningyi Pinghai is really good at craftsmanship. At least in my own town, no one can match it. Both the soup base and the ingredients are top-notch. If I have to talk about a shortcoming, it is that it is too expensive. On the way back, I kept thinking that I must find Yuxian and Fuzang as soon as possible. These two should be the most skilled cooks in the town guard mansion. Moreover, a leg wizard and a ball champion are trustworthy from every angle. When we returned to the ship girl headquarters from the streets outside, the sky had completely darkened. Walking in the city at night, holding Lafayette's hand and looking around. This is a small city, but compared to the small cities I know, it should be said to be small and exquisite. There are street lights erected along the street, and there are scattered pedestrians and vendors. The small building is decorated with neon lights, which is beautiful. It's not like most cities, which turn into ghost towns at night. It was already dark, but it was not too late to return to the ship's headquarters. At this time, the iron door of the ship's headquarters was not closed. When he went back, he saw the security guard smiling at him, and Sugu also smiled. Everyone was carrying things, and even if Sugu wanted to act like a gentleman, he couldn't carry the big and small bags alone. Return to the house and place the gifts that you plan to bring to everyone in the governor's mansion in the living room. There had been no pause since morning, from the excitement of shopping, and even Kent and Helena felt they needed a break. Lafayette threw himself on the sofa, completely unwilling to move. But after all, they couldn't just rest like this. Lafayette and Helena still had to pack their things. After all, they agreed to go back tomorrow. It has been many days since I came out this time, even longer than the time originally agreed with Lexington. Lafayette was packing her things in her room. Her room was in a mess. There are various posters on the walls, including cigarette advertisements, landscape pictures, and cartoons. Beside the bed was a rusted anchor that I didn't know where to get, as well as a barbell and 2 sandbags. Lafayette loved sports and thought he was powerful. He would beg for gifts and like snacks. It's Lafayette, and her room matches her perfectly. There were a lot of things she wanted to take away this time. When Sugu passed by her room, he saw her sitting on her small suitcase with a slightly melancholy expression on her face. Sugu was a little confused and asked, "Why are you sitting on the suitcase and not packing your things?" Then he saw Lafayette get off his suitcase, and then immediately saw her suitcase open automatically, and then things fell out of the suitcase. "You packed too many things into your suitcase. There is absolutely no need to bring anything else except clothes." Lafayette closed the suitcase again and said, "I haven't finished eating my toys, my weapons, and the candies you bought for me, Admiral. Anyway, we have a yacht, so just take them all away, okay Trouble? Admiral, please help me clean up, the powerful Lafayette wants to sleep." Sugu closed the door of Lafayette's room and said, "Do it yourself and you will have enough food and clothing." After leaving Lafayette's room, he saw Helena in the living room. Kent, who was sitting next to her, was nowhere to be seen. Sugu said, "Where is Kent?" "She went to take a shower." Sugu sat down next to the sofa and said, "Don't you pack your things? I've basically packed it up. It's enough to bring some clothes and important things. This house belongs to me, and I may come back to live at any time in the future. It can be used as a temporary residence. By the way, what gifts did you buy them?" Although they went out together, Sugu could only act as a yes man for half a day. No matter what they wanted to buy, they just nodded without commenting. Of course, expressing opinions is not of much use. When shopping, it doesn't matter if you are the admiral or not. When you take out your wallet, you are the admiral. Helena said, "It feels very nice to give Lexington a pair of white gloves." I just think it won't look good if she doesn't have matching clothes. But the gloves are expensive, so whether they match or not, I understand. After all, she is secretary ship, you can't give me little shoes to wear in the future. Saratoga, Saratoga, just give her a scarf, but Firefly also gives her scarves. Saratoga gives scarves, but Firefly doesn't give scarves. Now Firefly already has a lot of scarves. Everyone gives her scarves, and she is already complaining to me. Biz I can give her whatever she wants, anyway. She doesn't care about anything, she lives in her own world. Firefly has a lot of scarves, mainly because she always wears scarves, which once led people in the town hall to think she liked them. Many people came back from their expeditions and brought gifts to everyone, and the Fireflies all got scarves. Sometimes I think that everyone gives gifts in a perfunctory way. Helena asked, what about giving Fireflies? That hat. I wanted to give the hat to Sigsby. Bang bang. There was a sudden knock on the bathroom door. Helena came over, and then came back. Helena came back and said, Kent is not only weak, but also stupid. She didn't even bring her own clothes in and asked me to bring them to her. Sugu said, I think weakness and stupidity are inseparable. Well, I can't say that. Bizai is actually quite weak, but she becomes super smart when she wants to do something. Moreover, she is not lazy yet. She's a homebody. But she can't be said to be truly weak, she just acts like it. Bizai, if she wasn't cute and powerful, if she were an ordinary person, probably no one would like her. Sugu smiled and said, that's right. It's just that she's pretty and cute. Everything can be forgiven. Bismarck is serious. Akage likes to eat and eat. Like an ordinary person, she would probably be a fat person. If she is not a ship girl, Lexington and counterattack should be the most popular in the garrison now. You just arrange the people. But she is a ship girl, so there are so many ifs. Speaking of which, everyone in the guardhouse has a distinct personality. Sugu said, Leipzig is greedy for money, haha. I still haven't paid her a salary, only pocket money. San Juan is a bit Acaran, which means it is a bit transparent. She has a good relationship with everyone, and she has a good relationship with everyone. The relationship between everyone is not very good. She is going to find her sister, and Leipzig is accompanying her. I suspect Leipzig just wants to travel at public expense. I wonder if San Juan has found his sister? At this time, Kent went to take a shower, and Lafayette was not there either. Sugu sat on the sofa, and his fingers touched the small box containing the ring in his pocket. I bought the ring on impulse, but now I find it a bit difficult to do so. How to send these things out is really a difficult question. In the end, I found that I had no courage. Lafayette told me that he wanted to buy a bat to play against Xiazai. Who do you think is the most powerful among the destroyers? Helena was thinking all over and said, you talk so fast that I can't keep up with your rhythm. But who is the most powerful destroyer, Ghost and God Lingbo? No. Fletcher, who wants to protect his sister. Sugu said, no, forget it, let's just talk about it, Destroyer Veneto. So who is the most powerful heavy artillery? Andrea. Sugu was talking nonsense, and his finger touched the small box containing the ring. Even I don't know what to say, I just say whatever comes to my mind, no idea. After saying this for a few words, he became silent. I really don't have this kind of experience in giving rings to people. Give it directly, or stuff it into food, and wait until Helena eats it before proposing. Damn it, if you want to, just give up. Give it, don't give it, give it, don't give it. Sugu suddenly found that he was timid. Let's not give it for now. Although it was impulsive, I bought everything. Think about it, when did you start to face the existence of this problem, probably when you met Helena's suitor that night. Later, the Enterprise accused herself, and Helena stood up to refute herself. Even when the Enterprise shut up, Helena said she wasn't interested in the ring at all. But I know that even though I don't want to admit it, because Helena's liking for me comes from the game still reflects her 100% favorable impression of me. So Helena must be interested in the ring. Coming to this world and having your own castle in the game is a strange experience in itself. However, something happened. Many ship girls like themselves. Even if they don't want to admit it and feel that things are a bit ridiculous, they still exist. But giving a ring, as far as the matter itself is concerned, giving a ring to a girl should be a very sacred thing. You want to stay with the girl and grow old together. As far as I am concerned, my feelings for my ship girl will not be instantaneous. I have only known Helena for a few days, so giving a ring to her without feelings is a very shameless behavior. However, from the beginning, because of the existence of the game. When it comes to games, normal people certainly don't think about so many things. If you give out rings, give them rings. Whoever is strong or beautiful will give a ring. Just like no matter how much I like Xiaoze, I don't give him a ring because Xiaoze is not strong enough. After all, the things considered in games and reality are different. When the game became reality, I felt that things were ridiculous. But think about it, they take everything for granted, facing their bottomless dedication. I can say that I am baffled by the wedding ship and so on. But for them, it's a different feeling. I was obviously on a wedding ship, but I couldn't get anything. When such contradictions arise, being cruel to yourself will be even more cruel to them. Although Helena said she didn't care, she always said she was a scumbag. For me, what I originally did was just poking at the screen of my mobile phone, not a gangster. But from the ship girl's point of view, she is a real gangster. Being so arrogant and unmarried means that the ship girl can tolerate such behavior. From the ship girl's point of view, she harassed Helena and refused to give Helena a ring. In everyone's eyes, he is quite ruthless, harassing, and unmarried. I am a rogue and I don't care. But what about Helena? How much pressure should she be under? Will anyone say that the woman who was harassed by the admiral but could not get the ring is a shameless woman and a dirty woman? The admiral just likes her dirty breasts. Although she knew that the ship girls were good children and would not say this, Helena would still feel pressure. I keep saying I don't care, but do I really care? For me, it's just a psychological barrier. I'm afraid of being told that you're just relying on the game, otherwise why would you pursue Helena? For Helena, she didn't know anything about games. Sugu was silent, thinking about the problem. Helena asked, "Admiral, why did you suddenly stop talking?" Sugu gritted his teeth. Even if he was called a scumbag, a beast, and a lucky guy, what if his ship girl could be happy and take some of the responsibility herself? Helena is special. Sugu said, "Helena, speaking of which, I haven't given you anything yet." Seeing Sugu's words, Helena shook her head and said, "You have given me swimsuits before, but that was the beginning of the nightmare. It's better not to give me anything." Although she said this, there was still some expectation on her face. "But I've already bought it, so let's take a look. If you don't want it, don't let it go." Helena stretched out her hand, curled her slender fingers, and said, "Bring it to me and show it. I didn't pay attention to what you bought. It's rare that you actually want to buy something for me." Sugu held the box in his pocket and thought, "Should I ask you to marry me? Or, please be my wedding ship?" Lafitte could come out at any time, and Kent could finish washing at any time, but I still didn't want to do it when there were many people. So take out the whole box? Or just put the ring in Helena's palm? Well, I kept poking in the past. Sugu stopped mid-sentence. It's not good to keep mentioning this kind of thing. Whether it's for himself or Helena, it's not good to keep mentioning this kind of thing. Helena was a little confused. What do you want to give me? It's weird. Sugu thought for a while and said, don't stretch out your right hand, stretch out your left hand, palm down. I will accept it. I should accept it. What if you don't accept it? Sure enough, I might as well not give it away, but the time has come. Sugu bit his lip, stretched out his left hand to grab Helena's fingertips, opened the box from his pocket, picked up the ring and put it in the palm of his hand. Helena said, what do you want to give me? Don't play tricks on me. Helena, it sounds a little shameless. If you don't want to, well, stop saying those words. I still hope you can accept it. Don't tremble in your palms. If you don't withdraw your hand, I will treat it as if you accepted it. Well, Helena, be my wedding ship. Sugu half knelt on the floor, feeling a little uneasy and feeling that he was really stupid. I skipped the proposal part, and regardless of whether Helena cared about it or not, I just handed out the ring anyway, and now I feel like my face is on fire. The ring was just an ordinary ring. After all, he didn't carry much money with him. However, a diamond ring is a ring, and the pull tab of a kin is also a ring. Although the ring itself has a certain value, the greater value is the meaning given by the giver. With her palms trembling, Helena watched her admiral slide the ring into her finger, thinking to herself that she was just as presumptuous as before when she just inserted the ring without asking for the woman's consent. She said, but I can't see your thoughts at all. Sugu said, then. He stopped mid-sentence. He was not that stupid and said, give it back to me. Helena clenched her left hand into a fist and said, I won't give it to you, just take it as evidence of your perversion. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 292. Sometimes I think that my admiral is impressed by me and likes to poke her because of the amount of breasts. But it is clear that as a light cruiser, it even has the firepower of a heavy cruiser. In addition, excellent enemy tracking, low resource consumption, and anti-submarine capabilities have many advantages. However, all of them are a bit insignificant because of the 4 ounces of meat on the chest. Helena looked at the ceiling and touched the ring on her finger with her palm. It was a very ordinary ring, not very exquisite. It was far inferior to the rings in Lexington and the others, but it was still a ring. She slid down the bathtub little by little, and her chin and mouth were not in the water. She was blowing bubbles in the water like a child, gurgling. Then he exposed his head again and thought to himself, I am so childish, but I was originally just a light cruiser, I just grew a little more mature. Think about it, how can one person's love be shared by so many people? If you include yourself, the admiral already has 9 marriage ships. And compared with those wedding ships, I can't find any advantages. Even the proud breasts have no advantage at all in front of the Lion and the Prince of Wales. Is it really because of responsibility, or pity? What a bad thing it would be if a man came to marry him only because of responsibility and pity. As an independent woman, I should refuse. But a ship girl who already has an admiral cannot be said to be independent. When he gave himself the ring, he didn't refuse it. Sure enough, he still wanted it. Even if he only gave it to him out of responsibility and pity, he still happily accepted it. Many people say that ship girls are abnormal beings, women with a funny brain, who don't know how to fight for world domination even though they have such fighting ability. They are all so beautiful and like a little admiral. I always feel happy for a long time with just one word. But I am a ship girl and I find a scumbag admiral. What can I do? I just want to be around because I feel safe. Maybe you give yourself a ring just because of responsibility, pity, or because you like your body, but you still accept it when you give it to yourself. A shameless woman. Helena thought this way, put her finger on the ring, and thought about it, take it off, but she still couldn't bear to part with it. Even if you don't like me, I like you. After a long time, Helena stood up in the bathtub. Well, after taking a bath for a long time, my skin won't be wrinkled anymore. Kent was a little confused and asked, Admiral, what are you looking at? Is Kent weird? It's nothing, I just see that you are beautiful. After saying this, Sugu felt a little overwhelmed. Kent blushed slightly and said, don't say it. Sugu said, did Helena say anything to you when she helped you change your clothes? The zipper of the dress is on the back, although it can be easily reached by hand, but if you want to change clothes, it is better to have someone help. So Helena had to help Kent zip up his back. Although it was already night and she wouldn't go out anymore, she could still wear pajamas. But as a woman, Kent also wanted to try new clothes. Kent said, I see Helena's expression is very strange. What did the Admiral just say to her? Nothing said. Kent sat on the sofa, her legs together, her hands squarely placed on her thighs, her bangs hanging down to cover her face, and then she responded softly, oh. Not wanting to keep talking about Helena, Sugu said, you used to work as a guard on the ship. What did you do? Most of the time I just explore the road, following the cargo ship, and sometimes I sit on the deck and stare blankly. Why did you get there? Running around and running will get you there. You met Helena before, why don't you tell Helena about your situation? I don't think it's good to bother Helena with these little things. I won't say much more. Anyway, things are over and things will definitely be better in the future. Don't be bullied when you go to the town hall. Although people won't really bully you, there might be some mischief. If you have anything, just tell me and I will help. After all, I am your admiral. Kent is a weak girl, so Sugu can only give this advice. I remember when I was in class in the past, they said that there is nothing trivial about a ship girl. If a little psychological shadow is not resolved, it may become bigger and the ship girl will degenerate into a deep-sea ship girl. Although there are some exaggerations, be careful and you won't go too far. Sugu said, do you eat pears? I'll eat half of it. We don't allow people to divide pears in our hometown, because dividing pears means separation. Kent quickly took a pear from the fruit plate and said, then I'd better not eat it. I'll eat one myself. Sugu watched Helena holding a towel, wiping her hair as she walked through the living room and returned to her room. He didn't say a word to himself. Kent saw the scene and said, Admiral, what exactly did you and Helena say? I didn't say anything. He obviously gave me the ring, but it seemed like he had made a big mistake. Is this because it's too late to get married? Anyway, the woman's heart is aching. On the other side, Helena was sitting in her room, stroking the ring on her finger. Then she reached out and opened the most secret drawer of a cabinet in the room, and then found a small box in the deepest part of the drawer. She pursed her lips and opened the small box, revealing a ring inside. She got the ring a long time ago, and since then she has called herself a wedding ship. Whether facing her suitors or the Enterprise, she always calls herself a wedding ship. Although a large part of the reason was because at that time it was believed that the Admiral was missing and could never be found again. I just didn't expect that he would actually come back. Thinking about it at that time, I felt a little shameless. I originally wanted to return it to him, but the company made a big deal that night, so I didn't dare to return it, lest I be suspected of coercion. Now I can finally return it to him. After all, I already have something more important. Helena lay on the bed like a big girl, and then started to laugh. She had a ring that was different from everyone else. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 293. Sugu was called into the room by Helena. Will something pleasant happen? Although I know it is a delusion, I still have some expectations. After all, Helena has such a charming body, and the figure wrapped in a bath towel just now made people's blood rush. However, when he walked into the room, he immediately heard the sentence. Kent is outside. I can't tell you. Now, I'll give you the ring back. Sugu was a little confused when he heard Helena's words. Can he still return the ring? This means that Helena doesn't want to accept her ring at all, and she feels a little disappointed when she thinks of this. After waiting for Helena to hand a small box to his hand, Sugu opened the box and saw the ring inside, which was exactly the same as the ring on Lexington's hand. Moreover, he still has a ring that Akage gave to him. It was a ring that he was reluctant to give away. This. Helena said, there is no use for me to hold it. You can just give it to Kent in the living room, or you can give it to Lafayette. It would be better if he didn't return the ring and ask to cancel the engagement. Sugu felt a little relieved. But after hearing what Helena said later, my thoughts changed. It's just that I'm not that stupid. I can give it to him later, but if I give it to Kent at this time, he might be killed. So what if you give the ring to Lafayette? Well, of course it's just a casual thought. It's not aesthetically pleasing to attack a little girl. Sugu took the ring, looked at it, and said, why don't you change it? Compared with the ring in his hand at this time, the ring he originally gave was really simple. After all, it's impossible to carry too much money with you. Besides, I bought a lot of things along the way, so I don't have much money anymore. The ring is cheap, although when I bought that ring, I had basically spent all the money I brought out this time. It's better to leave the ring to your little lover, for example, to fight back. After taking a bath and changing clothes. At this time, Helena was not blushing like she was when she just received the ring. It's not like he put on a cold face just a moment after receiving the ring to hide his shyness. Counterattack, she is indeed a very good maid. Well, as expected, there are many things where you cannot take the first step. Once you take the first step, it will be easy to break the pot next time. After coughing to calm down, Consultant Sue asked, so who took those rings back then? Whoever took it will not tell anyone. Anyway, when everyone came to your office later, they could no longer see the ring. Except for the South Dakota, which was the first offender, everyone knew that they didn't take the remaining rings. Anyone who asked them said they didn't take them. South Dakota was the first to take action. As for how many coins she took away in total, only the second person who took them knows. Then this one of yours. Before leaving, South Dakota secretly gave me a ring. This is it? Sugu's mind was racing and he said, it's really not you who used the name of South Dakota. Before he could finish his words, Helena knocked him down with a pillow. The pillow, which had used a bit of the ship's power, had violent power. Although I don't know if it is a pillow stuffed with cotton or goose feathers, there is no way to cause harm to people. Sugu was unyielding. He sat on the ground and looked at Helena's stunning body. He thought for a moment and said, in the evening. Roll. Sugu couldn't figure out why he still slept with Lafayette even though he had already been given the ring. Of course, the idea is just an idea. It still feels a little wrong to actually sleep together, and there will be some obstacles in my heart. After all, I haven't even known Helena for a week. But it's not bad to sleep with the little girl Raffi, it's a great experience. It's just that Lafayette's figure is slender and a little less soft than little Lolita and young girls, and he's a bit older, so cuddling feels weird. Lafayette followed everyone around for a whole day without resting. Even the ship girl would feel a little tired. At this time, it was only 9 or 10 o'clock. Normally, there was no way to fall asleep at this time. Now this time Lafayette was starting to feel a little drowsy. She waited until Helena had finished her bath, then went to take a shower, then curled up on the bed when she came back. When Sugu came back from taking a shower, she curled up like a shrimp and fell asleep, with the quilt only half covering her. Sugu sat by the bed and covered Lafite with the quilt. Then he saw Lafite turning over on the bed and covering his face with his hands. He walked to the door and turned out the light. It's really not enough that the switch is not designed next to the bed. It should be designed to have control switches next to the door and the bed. Turning out the light, Sugu sat on the edge of the bed without falling asleep, thinking about the problem. Giving Helena the ring was considered as completing something. Thinking of the first incident between myself and Xiaozai, and thinking of Lexington, I really felt pity for such a slender life as the ship girl, and I wanted to protect it. I just wanted to protect, and even though I was protected to the point of giving a ring, it felt a little different. By the way, there is another very important issue, which is how to explain to Lexington after returning. In particular, Saratoga kept saying that Helena was a vixen and that she would be eaten dry. Although for him, he should eat up Helena and wipe it clean, but Saratoga was stubborn. How to tell Saratoga when we go back is another problem. I already have 2 rings, what should I do in the future? And to whom? Although Helena is a special existence, counterattack, Akage, Kent, in short there are many people who are not bad. And there will be more in the future, Kaga, Colorado, Rodney, Nelson. Forget it, just take it one step at a time, don't worry about so many things. Although as far as I am concerned, it would be better if everyone gave me a ring. Helena used to change into her pajamas in her room, put on her pajamas, and then open the window in the room to let the wind blow in and dry her slightly damp hair. She put her fingers in her hair and shook her long hair to make it fluffy so that she could go faster. She was dressed casually, but outside the window of the small building was the endless sea, which meant that the light from the lighthouse occasionally shone through, so naturally no one would peep. Although he accepted the ring, he was still a little shy to do such a thing since he and his admiral immediately lived together. Besides, I had already told Kent that I wanted to sleep with her at night. At that time, I didn't know that I would get the ring. After thinking about it later, I felt that there was something wrong with changing my mind temporarily. Did it seem that I was too frivolous? But no matter what, it's already good to have the ring. If you want anything else, you'd be too greedy. Helena's room is simple and elegant, with light gauze curtains and many wardrobes and bookcases. The wardrobe was opened, and most of the clothes inside were put away, leaving only a few pieces of clothing that had been gathering dust for a long time and felt very silly wearing them. Kent stood by the bookcase in her pajamas and opened a book. She took out a book at random and flipped through it. It was filled with dense text and not a single picture. She is not a literary girl and has no interest in these things. She is really bored and would rather be in a daze than read these ant words. She stuffed the book back into the bookcase, saw Helena standing by the window, and then said, "That's great." "What's so good?" Kent said there. Helena felt a little helpless. It seemed that everyone liked to talk about their breasts. Why not talk about the Prince of Wales? It was because she was easier to talk to. You Helena stretched out her slender fingers and tapped Kent's forehead. She looked at Kent hugging the pillow on the bed, stretched out his hand, and said, "Don't you always want to see what the ring the Admiral gave me is? It's not a diamond ring, not as good as the rings in Lexington and the others, it's just very ordinary. A very cheap ring. There is no other way, after all, we only have one scumbag admiral." Kent didn't have that much thought. She looked at the ring on Helena's finger and touched it again. Although it was very beautiful, there was no diamond at all. Then she stretched out her hand to take off the ring from Helena's finger. Before she could do it, Helena patted her and said, "It hurts. You have to apply soap to take it off." Let's assume that Helena said that. That's the truth, okay. Kent did not doubt that he was there, then he took back his hand and said, When did the admiral give it to you? Helena raised her chin slightly and said, when do you think it should be? Have no idea. Helena said, then I don't know. Of course she couldn't say that she had just given the ring, and if she had not given it just now, I would tell you tonight that I have no relationship with the admiral at all, and it is not a marriage at all. Ship. After Helena finished speaking, she saw Kent, blinked her eyes and said, the admiral still has the ring, otherwise you can ask him for it. Kent said, don't. Of course she would not do such a shameless thing. Kent pressed his face sideways on the pillow and said, Helena, do you feel that the admiral has changed a lot, much better? You can only see his appearance. With a ring, he wants a big girl to sleep with him. He looks innocent on the outside and is a pervert on the inside. That is our admiral. Kent said, are we going back to the town hall tomorrow? What does the town hall look like? Is it as big as the previous town hall? Helena went back once, and she also knew the story of how Sugu obtained the governor's mansion. After all, it was originally just a garrison prepared for the new admiral, and it was also a garrison left after the admiral was transferred. How could it be so big? Helena said, the garrison is not too big, but it is very beautiful. When I went back that day, the admiral took me everywhere. Although what is the use of which place? He did not say, and then I heard him bragging. Where is he? When it comes to arranging, he can give any advice on any place, and he can tell the pattern of a flower. After she finished speaking, she paused for a moment and said, do you want a drink of water? I'll go to the living room and pour some. No. Then I'll pour the water. Passing by Lafayette's room, there was no light coming out from under the door. It seemed that they were already sleeping. The lights in the living room had been turned off, and Helena did not turn on the lights. She groped for the kettle, took a glass of water with a cup, and drank it in one gulp. Then returning to the room again, Helena said, let's turn off the lights. Kent, turn on the bedside lamp. Okay, by the way, what are we going to do when we go back tomorrow? You don't need to do anything, and you're not going back to work. A few days ago, everyone defeated the deep-sea ship girls. There should be no deep-sea ship girls for the time being. There is not much expedition work in the garrison, and there are basically very few things. The townhouse is not a workplace, a company where you work, or a friend's home. Having the admiral there can make people feel at ease. It is the townhouse, it is the port area, and it is home. There is no need to work, even if you have nothing to do all day long. It doesn't matter, no one will say anything about you. It's not a friend's house, so there's no need to be polite. If you have something to do, let's do it together, and if there's nothing, let's play together. Kent smiled, this is the town hall, this is the place where the ship girl doesn't want to leave. Helena continued, there are 3 more ship girls in the town hall now. You don't know them. One is Zeppelin. She used to be an instructor at the academy. Now she comes to be an instructor. She is said to be an instructor, but she has never left. The admiral told me that Zeppelin had been abducted by Akagi and Bismarck. If Akagi didn't have dinner time, she liked to sit on the bench outside the cafeteria. Zeppelin would go and talk to Akagi every day, as if to say hello. He said he also instigated Zai to call Aunt Zeppelin, haha, although I didn't see it, that scene must be very interesting. There is also an aircraft carrier, the York City, which is the new ship built by the admiral. The York City is a fighting sect, the kind of ship girl who likes to challenge you, but she currently has 0 winning record in the garrison. Because the people in the garrison are either very powerful and York City can't win, or they basically don't know how to attack and will not agree to her request at all. York City is big-chested and brainless, but she is a nice person. You can ask her to date someone. There is a destroyer, Arashi, who always follows Akagi. But she just joined the garrison. I don't know what's going on now. Although Helena only stayed for 1 day, she knew many things. Lexington is a secretary ship. Admiral is no longer the same as before. He changes to a secretary ship every once in a while. Counterattack is now a maid. I feel that she is getting more and more powerful. Maybe one day she will surpass her sister in reputation. Maybe. Bismarck likes to stand by the dock, whether to look at the sea or the seagulls. At night, I saw her and the Admiral walking side by side in the port area. Bismarck is also a wedding ship. The Prince of Wales. Kent said, Prince of Wales, she is a bit scary. I wonder where Hood is. She smiled and thought to herself that she would still be happy with her sisters in her mansion. Although Effie is a good friend, she is just an ordinary person and there are many topics that she cannot talk about. As for the ship girls who are both in the garrison and have the same admiral, they have endless topics to talk about in common. The voice became lower and lower. I had to leave tomorrow after all, so I couldn't chat all night long. After a while, the sound completely disappeared and Kent began to sleep. Only shallow breathing could be heard. Helena still couldn't sleep because she felt like she had said a lot today. At this time, she was tossing and turning on the bed, crossing her arms, looking at the ceiling, thinking of her admiral's appearance and the way he stared at her before. Helena whispered to herself, "Don't you want to touch it? Do you just want a touch?" Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 294. The sun rose from the sea level, and the early morning light shone into the garrison. It was already early morning, and Prince Eugen, who was in charge of the canteen, had already gotten up. Before heading to the cafeteria, there is one thing that must be done. As she walked down the corridor, she tied her mid-length blue hair into twin tails and brushed her bangs. She stood in front of Bismarck's door with her hands behind her back. What I must do is of course say good morning to my sister Bismarck every day. Bismarck's character was rigorous and unsmiling. People with this character often had another characteristic, which was punctuality. Bismarck got up and went out at a fixed time every day. As the door creaked, Bismarck walked into the corridor and immediately heard a voice. "Good morning, Sister Bismarck." Bismarck was used to being greeted like this every day. She said, "Good morning. Sister Bismarck is going to exercise again." "Yes. It's okay to take a break once in a while. You can't relax at any time. If you relax once, there will be a second time. Just like our admiral, he used to be able to follow me for a run in the morning. If you miss one day, you can always find a reason not to go in the future. Now exercise on and off." Prince Eugen said with a smile, "Sister Bismarck looks forward to running with the Admiral every day. The Admiral is missing a few days, so of course she is not satisfied. By the way, since you came back from Admiral Hipper's sister, your relationship has been good." "A lot." Bismarck slapped Prince Eugen on the forehead and said, "Don't think too much. Well, are you going to the cafeteria?" "San Juan is out, all the tasks for these days are left to me." The two of them walked down the dormitory building like this. Bismarck was going to the playground, and Prince Eugen was going to the canteen next to them. The Prince of Wales had just gotten up when there was a knock on the door, a counter knock. She is like a big brother, how can she be like ordinary people, but she has the counter-attack as a royal maid. Although for herself, she still doesn't want to be treated so specially by counter-attack. In fact, he was laughed at by his own admiral several times, saying that the eldest brother is the eldest brother, and the prince is the prince, which is why he is different. Although he knew that his admiral meant no harm, he just said it in a funny way. But since then, there has been a slight resistance to the service of counter-attack. She is not a completely cold and ignoring big brother. "Come in," said the Prince of Wales. Then she saw counter-attack opening the door and coming in with a basin and a towel in one hand. The Prince of Wales stood up from the bed and said, "Why don't you usually help the Admiral? He is your master." "He's the master and you're the mistress," and he said no. "Then I say no." Fighting back in silence, he then said, "Because I can always see Lexington coming out of his room. When I go in again, I have already seen him finishing dressing and washing up. He doesn't need my help at all. Sometimes in advance I knocked on the door, but the door didn't open inside. Finally, the door opened, and when I saw him and Lexington looking at me a little embarrassed, I felt there was no need to do that." The Prince of Wales looked expressionless, then said, "Okay, help me get dressed." Although it is also a wedding ship, Lexington's status is really high. In the past, she was evaluated as a perfect wife, but her nickname was Big Brother. Lexington among all the wedding ships, no one can match her status. If we talk about the entire garrison, the only one who can defeat her is probably the one who found the Admiral's house first. But Xiao Zai is a little girl, and no one will compare the two of them. Beizai, the adult version of Xiao Zai, is quite proactive and is also a wedding ship. She likes to shamelessly stay in the Admiral's room. I remember I mentioned it once, saying that as a woman, I had to be careful, but she still went her own way every day. She was even heard to say once, "The Admiral didn't say anything about me, so you said something about me." Coupled with Beizai's aggrieved expression, I thought to myself that I was really meddling in my own business. Yes, the Admiral didn't say anything about her. The Prince of Wales stretched out his hand and dressed himself in response to the counterattack. After getting dressed, she pinned her long blonde hair to both sides in conjunction with the counterattack. She had always had this hairstyle in the past, and she wasn't going to change it anymore. Counterattack held the Prince of Wales's long hair, combed it with a wooden comb, and said, "The master has gone out to find Helena, and it will probably take several days to come back. Usually the master occasionally finds time to talk to you, but now I have been away for many days. Prince, will you feel bored if you are idle like this every day? It's enough compared to before." Counterattack suddenly stretched out her hands and hugged the Prince of Wales's neck, pressing her face with the Prince of Wales's from behind. She whispered, "If the Admiral doesn't come to you, then we will abandon him, that irresponsible husband." The Prince of Wales said coldly, "Don't be ridiculous." It was only at this time that he let go of his hand to fight back. The Prince of Wales certainly knew that fighting back was not a lily. All she did was to make her daily life less boring, sometimes even going beyond her role as a maid. It was obvious that she valued this the most. "Just to make myself happy, I occasionally say that everyone should just spend time together. Sometimes it is said that it is better to be a model for Beizai. If the Admiral sees the book, he will definitely like it very much. Otherwise, let's go to the wall together, Admiral." He makes countless suggestions every day, just so that he will not be so bored every day, and not so dull drinking. The Prince of Wales said, "The Admiral is not free. Occasionally he gets news about a past companion, and he has to run around. Speaking of which, there has been no news about your sister Reputation and Hood. Let's go find them when we have time." Did they leave the address of their previous company? Following the clues, maybe we can find where they are now. He countered, "What's the point of two people going together? If you have time, just you, me and the Admiral will go together. People who are used to getting up early have already gotten up. There is someone else trying to fight the Sandman, her name is Saratoga. In Sandman's hands, the person who can't survive any move is called Beizai, even her sister has given up on her. Saratoga was much nicer than the North House, and she had just woken up not long after early morning. Her body subconsciously rolled on the bed, and there was one less hug in her arms. Then she opened her hazy eyes and saw that there was no one around her. Saratoga looked at the figure behind the dressing table and said, "Sister, why did you get up so early?" "Because I went to bed very early yesterday." Get some more sleep. It's such a rare opportunity to sleep with my sister once. You always go to your brother-in-law's room. Now that your brother-in-law is out, you finally belong to me. These were the few days since Sugu left the town guard mansion. After, Lexington fiddled with her long flaxen hair with her hands. As a woman, the first thing she does when she gets up in the morning is of course putting on her makeup. When she heard her sister's words, she was about to reach for the comb, but stopped. Of course Saratoga's words were a bit exaggerated, but it was indeed a long time since he and his sister slept peacefully. However, she was gentle and generous, and the other party was her sister. She said, "Since he is your brother-in-law, of course we must sleep together." Saratoga sat up on the bed, her infinitely beautiful shoulders and collarbones exposed from her pajamas. "When I go to bed at night, I feel restless, rolling around, and my long hair is messy." She rubbed her chicken coop-like golden hair, and facing her shameless sister, she said, "Sister, you are my aunt. It's different from the past. Lexington won't be angry now." She said, "Yes, yes, I am the sister-in-law, and my little brother-in-law is out." When it comes to this, Saratoga is a little angry. "My own brother-in-law, in the past, no matter how much I tried to tease him, he never dared to make any move. Helena came, and in order to go out with Helena, she actually learned to use her hands and feet. Helena, that little bitch." Hearing his sister's words, Lexington frowned and said, "Where did you learn this word? Such words still need to be learned. You can imagine it just by looking at Helena." Saratoga slandered in her heart and said, "It is, otherwise, would it really take so many days just to find Kent?" Saratoga lay down on the bed again. She and the Sandman were equal opponents. But if her opponent was the Sandman, she had support. Lexington opened the window in the room and light shone into the room. Saratoga quickly blocked it with his hands and said, "Sister, it's bright. It's time for you to get up. I still want to sleep again." Lexington still doted on his sister. After thinking about it, since his sister wanted to sleep, he should continue to sleep. She arranged her makeup, kissed her sister's forehead, and then went out. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 295. When Sugu was away from the town hall, affairs in the town hall were naturally managed by the secretary-ship Lexington. Although even if he was here, Lexington would not refute his opinion as long as he raised it. However, as long as he was around, Lexington would only make suggestions and not make decisions, and he would stick to his duty as a secretary-ship. We had just repelled a wave of attacks from the deep-sea flagship. Repelling the deep-sea flagship was a big deal. As time went by, the incident unfolded. There have been several waves of people taking the initiative to visit these days, and I don't know where they got the news, thinking that the town guardhouse has something to do with the ship girl headquarters. This misunderstanding was explained once, but no one believed it, so it was forgotten in the end. There are good things about misunderstandings and bad things about them. The good thing is that everyone is not too surprised to see so many ship girls in the guardhouse. The bad thing is that there is really no relationship between the garrison and the ship girl headquarters. But think about it, this misunderstanding must have something to do with Helena. The admirals came to visit and told them that their admirals were away on business. No matter what happens, I can't make the decision as a secretary. When the admiral comes back, I will notify him and ask him to visit everyone. If someone else comes for a visit, of course you have to take the initiative to visit afterward. After all, as a new admiral, his own admiral cannot put on airs in front of the old admiral. There were several waves of people coming in the past day or two, but no one has come now. No deep-sea ship girl appeared, and the expedition work was temporarily stopped due to the appearance of the deep-sea flagship, so what was left was the matter inside the garrison. However, there are many people in the garrison, and if everyone has to do some things, there won't be much left. Especially among these people, there is a maid-like counterattack who is extremely powerful in combat, and one person takes on most of the tasks. Prince Eugen is in charge of the canteen these days, and the cleaning work has always been done by counterattack and Fletcher. Coming out of the dormitory, Lexington saw counterattack holding a broom. Counterattack so early. Lexington, morning. If there is anyone who lives the most fulfilling life in the town hall, it is the counterattack. For Saratoga or Bazai, just doing anything would involve crying and screaming. But for counterattack, if you don't ask her to do something, she will become restless. When a ship girl is awakened as a maid, there is really no way to change her character. Thinking about it, the counterattack was already so powerful. When her sister, the head maid, came back, it would be huge, and Lexington felt a little bit of a sense of crisis. She said hello to counterattack, and then walked towards the cafeteria to see if she could help. As soon as she entered the cafeteria, she saw Prince Eugen rummaging around for ingredients. After thinking about it, she took off her apron from the wall. "Let me help. You've worked really hard these days. Do things step by step in an orderly manner. It's really troublesome to prepare breakfast for so many people, Prince Eugen, turn on the exhaust fan." Lexington cracked an egg into the pan and turned it over with a spatula. Prince Eugen saw it and asked doubtfully, "So fast?" "The Admiral taught me how to make soft-boiled omelets, but I never made them well. Prince Eugen, please take care of the porridge." "It's okay." Prince Eugen said this, feeling more and more worried about his sister Bismarck. Lexington was an insurmountable mountain, and it would take hard work to defeat her. Breakfast is set at 8 o'clock. In order to have breakfast for so many people, we need to get up early in the morning. Bone porridge, fried dough sticks, sandwiches, and even a glass of milk, all in all a messy breakfast. Xiaozai was lying on the dining table with her chin resting on the table. She looked like she had no bones. Her weak look was very much like that of Beizai. If the two of them go out, they will definitely be thought of as mother and daughter or sisters. In fact, it's not Xiaozai's fault. In these days when the Admiral was not around, she was ravaged by Beizai all day long. "I couldn't resist the pinching and rolling, and I couldn't sleep well at night. If the Admiral is there, sleeping on the Admiral's bed is the most peaceful thing." Bismarck obviously didn't have the character to take care of others, so Lexington still had to take care of them. Seeing Xiaozai's appearance, Lexington touched Xiaozai's head and said, "Xiaozai, what's wrong?" "Although I don't like people touching their heads, Sister Lexington and Sister Miao are special." Xiaozai said, "The Admiral went out, and he didn't even take me with him. He's out looking for someone." "I know. Think about it, your good friend Lafayette is coming back soon, so be happy." Xiaozai became a little more energetic, and then she said, "Then I'm going to blow up a lot of balloons." "Blow up balloons to welcome Lafayette?" Xiaozai replied seriously, "No, I want to fill the balloon with water and turn the balloon into a water balloon." A group of submarines nodded nearby, indicating that they would help Xiaozai so that they could be used to attack Lafayette. Sigsby's expression was expressionless, making Lexington wonder if the smile he just saw was a mistake. Life is a bit boring without the Admiral around. Unlike when the Admiral is around, you won't feel bored even if you sit next to him, you will only feel at ease. In the face of boredom, the one with the strongest tolerance is Akagya. He eats when he can, drinks when he can, and sits under the lush canopy of trees when he has nothing to do. "Sometimes I talk to Zeppelin, sometimes I talk to Lan, sometimes I do nothing and a cup of tea can finish the whole day. Akagi, I see you sitting here again." Akagi heard the sound and immediately understood that Lexington was coming. Although she was once a big enemy, Lexington was now so far ahead of her that she couldn't even see her shadow. "Is Kagami still not back?" Akagi said, "I don't know where she went." I left a letter in my room and also said hello to my colleagues in the college. Kaga may have been delayed for something. Compared with the life in the academy, isn't it boring to sit like this all the time? It has always been like this before. There is no need to attack. I sit and wait every day for when the admiral will come back and when the admiral will take a look. If you have expectations in your heart, you will never feel bored. Akagi is a dignified lady, not a shy young lady. Lexington leaned on the back of her chair, looking at the dense tree canopy, the light beams, and the dust floating in the light beams, and she said, "Yes, if you have expectations, you will not be bored no matter what." That is to say, he was able to leave in a heartless manner, and when he came back, everyone still gathered around him. There is a lot of boring time on days when the admiral is not around. Not everyone is Akagi, most people like to find something to do for themselves. For example, Saratoga wanted to write a novel during this time. In fact, she had conceived the outline of the novel many days ago. It's just that her writing skills are really not good, and she spends 3 days fishing and 2 days drying the net. Get up every morning, eat breakfast, then sit in front of the desk, biting the pen and staring blankly, writing dozens of words and crossing them out, writing dozens of words and crossing them out again, and also to prevent my sister from seeing. After a whole day like this, to use that sentence, although I didn't write a word, I had worked hard for myself. Of course, there is another reason why there is no way to calm down. It comes from the girl's intuition. At this moment, she was sitting on the chair with her legs curled up, watching the curtains falling on the table swaying with the wind, feeling uneasy from Helena. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai-De-Rong Yan. Chapter 296. The operation of a garrison cannot be separated from the admiral and the ship's wife. The admiral and the ship's wife just have different divisions of labor. The admiral is responsible for management, and the ship girl needs to take action when something happens. This relationship is like that between a star and an agent. However, there are still some differences between the two, that is, the relationship between the admiral and the ship girl is undoubtedly much closer than that between a star and an agent. It is better to say that it is much closer. In addition to management, the admiral also has another role, which is to stand up when the ship girl feels uneasy. Saratoga was uneasy, but Sugu was not around. She didn't like to have to deal with Exeter's troubles. At this time, when she felt uneasy about Helena, she decided to discuss it with Bazai, although Bazai was 100% not a reliable person to discuss with. Generally, if you want to find Bazai, there are 2 places. One is of course your own room in Bazai. Saratoga went there first, but she didn't see the North House there. Then I have to go to another place, my brother-in-law's room. Saratoga found Sugu's room and opened the door. There was a dark feeling in the room. It would be bright enough if the curtains were opened, but the lamp had to be turned on inside. Dim the light in the room and turn on the desk lamp, which is what Bazai can do. The room was in a mess, with many paper balls thrown on the floor. Saratoga found Bazai inside. At this time, Bazai was unusually diligent in holding a paintbrush. "What are you doing?" "Draw." "Let me see what you are drawing." "Now, look." Saratoga took the drawing board. The person on the drawing board had upturned hair like cat ears and was not wearing any clothes. She immediately knew why Bazai came here. "You are so bold." "My sister didn't paint for me, so I had to run over here. Anyway, as long as I finish painting and hide the things, my sister won't rummage around in the admiral's room." Bazai looked quite proud. "But my sister comes over all the time," Saratoga said. "Your sister doesn't care about my business." Saratoga nodded. "That's right. Speaking of which, I came here this time to tell you something important. Oh. Saratoga said, you know what? The Admiral followed Helena out, and I've been feeling uneasy. Have no idea. Think about it, Helena's breasts are so big and swaying that even a man can't resist the temptation. If my brother-in-law follows her out for so many days, will she be eaten dry, do you know? That day, he actually kissed me in order to go out with Helena. Obviously he is usually so timid. Bazi still didn't care, she said, I just kissed you, what do you want so much? I kissed you too. Saratoga was shocked, and then heard Bazi say, I kissed him when he was taking a nap that day, and I didn't think it was a big deal. Sugu doesn't know what Bazi does such a thing anyway. Saratoga felt a little powerless about Bazi's behavior and said, he and Helena go out together, and no one can watch him. If Helena is tempted, there may be another wedding ship by then. It doesn't matter. The more wedding ships he has, the better. Just don't bother me. Saratoga was silent, thinking, is he bothering you? It's obvious that you go to his room every day and you are annoying him, and you can do such things. Saratoga said loudly, Bazi, Helena wants to enter you, and you don't know the danger. Bazi remained unmoved and showed no signs of being affected at all. Her fingers holding the pencil were still strong, and she drew one stroke at a time on the drawing board, outlining a face. Even though she is just a book painter, she has a painting skill that is not weaker than anyone else. Of course, the most important thing is her concentration. Well. Bazi finally made some noise. Saratoga was happy when she heard Bazi say, I thought about what you said, Admiral, sister, Helena, this is a good idea, I will draw this next time. Saratoga is helpless, Bazi is completely unreliable, and it seems that they need to find another person to share the same hatred. At this time she looked out of the window and saw Bismarck sitting on the bench. Bismarck was definitely not a helper. Akagi, well, a Japanese ship, Akagi is a class enemy, and Helena is just a contradiction within the revolutionary ranks. The Prince of Wales, he didn't dare to talk to her anyway, he felt so fierce. And, her breasts, which are the same as Helena's, were originally used to seduce her brother-in-law with a swimsuit. Otherwise, there would be no door to the wedding ship. Counterattack, if she hadn't interrupted him that night, he might have gone out by now. Thinking like this, she saw a yacht sailing towards the governor's mansion in the distance. Saratoga has been standing by the dock for a long time. She is the best sister-in-law and firmly implements the concept of a sister-in-law is half the butt of a brother-in-law. The yacht docked at the pier and several people disembarked. Saratoga said, Helena, and Kent and Lafayette. Gaga. Helena said this, raising her hand to say hello. Saratoga was originally suspicious, but now she keenly noticed Helena's left hand. When Helena said hello and lowered her arms, she immediately saw a ring on her finger. The ring was made of beautiful metal, with a small metal flower in the middle. It would probably be beautiful if there was a diamond in the bud, but there wasn't. But whether there is a diamond or not is not important. The main thing is that the ring is worn on Helena's left ring finger. Of course she knows what it means. I remember that day, Helena didn't see her when she came over, but she did when she came back this time. It's really whatever you worry about that comes with it. Saratoga pointed at Helena's finger and said, that. You're talking about this, ring. As a ship girl, I can't refuse the Admiral's request. Helena spread her hands, saying that I didn't want to either, but there was no way. Sugu came out at this time. Saratoga looked at him and said, brother-in-law, this is not true. What's really not true? The ring, Helena's ring. Yeah. Really? Sugu lowered his head, responded, and said, don't you also have a ring? Just after he finished speaking, Sugu knew that he could not give Saratoga time to react. He immediately said, "Don't say so much. We have brought you gifts, which are in the yacht. The resources are also ready. It should be done after a while. It will be sent over. And Kent, have you said hello to her?" You may not believe it, she almost encountered a crisis. The ring reflected in the sunlight, mesmerizing the eyes, and Saratoga would not be diverted so easily. She was about to speak when she suddenly heard a shout, "Lafayette!" Lafayette got off the yacht and saw Xiaozai coming over with a group of destroyers and submarines. Lafayette, Xiaozai called. "Hello, Xiaozai." Xiaozai took out the water balloon from his back and shouted, "Everyone, get ready, attack." Kotaku took the lead, and Firefly, Amethyst, Sixby, and even Lan joined in the attack. Lafayette was still stunned, and suddenly countless water balloons made of water-filled balloons were thrown at her. Before she had time to react, she immediately turned into a drowned rat, and there was a burst of laughter around her. Sugu felt a little confused like Lafayette and wanted to tell everyone to stop making trouble. Suddenly he saw a black shadow flying towards him and a water ball hitting his head. Sugu looked over and saw Thatcher with a stunned look on his face, and thought to himself, "You little girl is very bold. No one else dares to hit me with a water balloon, but you are the only one who dares." At the same time, Thatcher was also very surprised. "Didn't you agree to hit the Admiral with water balloons? Why did you all hit Lafayette?" She looked at her sister Sixby, who looked serious, as if she had never said anything. However, there is an advantage to Sugu being hit, that is, when Saratoga saw this scene, he felt funny and temporarily forgot about the ring. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 297. After all, reality and games are different. In the past, it was better in games. It didn't matter how many wedding ships you wanted to marry, or how you wanted to marry. Even if it's a wedding destroyer, Fantasy, Lafayette, Veneto, or a wedding submarine, Big Mackerel, or Archerfish, as long as you have a ring, everything will be fine. However, when the game becomes reality, giving more rings is not that simple. Even if your wedding partner doesn't say anything, the resentment or cold eyes staring at you are enough to make you worry about things. Let's not talk about sister-in-law Saratoga. Bizai didn't say anything because he hadn't seen her shadow yet. The way Lexington blinked and smiled at him was like looking at a child stealing food. The Prince of Wales' eyes were cold. Bismarck said nothing, and no one knew what she was thinking. Sugu sat quietly, wondering if there would be 3 interrogations next, but no one spoke, and it was estimated that the matter would gradually fade away. Sugu didn't want to mention this matter, but York City, who couldn't figure out the situation, kept saying next to him, "Pervert, pervert Admiral." She kept saying it over and over again, which made Sugu feel helpless. He thought to himself that he still needs to teach you a lesson. He said, "You are an aircraft carrier that can't even defeat a destroyer. Please stop talking nonsense next to me." Faced with the slander, York City suddenly became angry and said, "Why can't I defeat the destroyer? Don't insult someone's innocence out of thin air." Firefly, "That's because I didn't even release the carrier-based aircraft, and she hit her head is so hard. If it were a serious exercise, the two of them would be so far apart, and she wouldn't be able to hit me at all." Sugu shouted Lafayette. Lafayette was struggling with Xiaozai, "You pinch my face, I will pinch yours." When she heard Sugu's words, she let go. "What?" Sugu said, "A sister wants to practice with you. She said that destroyers can only flee in panic in front of aircraft carriers." Then he looked at the unconvinced York City and said, "York City, I found an opponent for you. If you beat her, I don't care what you want to do in the future. If you lose, then you." York City crossed his arms and said, "What request do you want to make?" "No, even if you give me the ring, I don't want it, pervert Admiral." There are obviously so many wedding ships, but after going out for a few days, there is another wedding ship in the blink of an eye. Normally, he likes to stare at my thighs. At first glance, he doesn't look like a serious admiral. Sugu wanted to admit that he had stared at York City's thighs, but as a man, you like to wear short skirts or hot pants, with your slender and sexy thighs dangling in front of you, so it would be strange not to look at them. But this didn't stop him from feigning anger and said, "Then if you lose, just call Sister Lafayette. Lafayette, if you win, then you can make any request." York City was not the kind of coy girl and immediately expressed her intention to practice with Lafayette. When Lafayette heard Sugu's promise, he even forgot to fight with Xiaozai. If it was a heavy cruiser or something, she would still be more afraid, but she was not afraid of aircraft carriers. Sugu has solved the matter in York City. Now there is only one thing that is most difficult to deal with. It is even more difficult to deal with than being stared at by his own wedding ship, and that is Akagi sitting in front of him. Because of the return of Helena, Kent, and Lafayette, the townhouse prepared quite a lot of delicacies. And when they came back, they also stopped in the county town for a while and bought some food. A small banquet was prepared in the cafeteria. Akagi, who was usually the most excited when it came to the banquet, did not move his chopsticks at all this time. Akagi didn't even move his chopsticks, so you can imagine what kind of terrifying scene it would be. Sugu looked at Shi Kung, who was sitting opposite him with a lunchbox, and said, "We had hot pot when we went out. I thought that I would need someone to make some Mandarin duck pot, so that the town guard mansion can make hot pot in the future." "Shi Kung, you eat hot pot?" Akagi smiled and said, "Eat," but he didn't move his chopsticks. "Try the crispy duck. We can only buy it if we go there early, otherwise we won't be able to buy it at all." Akagi sat dignifiedly, still smiling. Until he saw that Sugu was all awkward, Akagi said, "In the past, the Admiral arranged for me to go on exercises, and I gained a lot of growth. Later, because more and more ship girls appeared in the garrison, my strength was weak, and I had to retreat to the second line. I have no regrets. You left, and I became an instructor in the college. When I first saw your test paper and the familiar handwriting, I thought it was you. Although I never participate in college affairs, how could I possibly give you an interview? Not going. My colleagues in the college treat me very well, and the students respect me quite a bit. Even if they say I cheated on Akagi later, it's just a joke. If I meet them, they always like to ask me to go to dinner with them. If a student, whenever we had any activities, they would always come over to call me, even if I would finish the food they prepared. Zeppelin always complained to me why her people were not invited. President Warspite is also very good to me. When I first entered the academy, I became an instructor on an aircraft carrier. Kaga and I got a house without doing anything, and the salary from the job was also very generous. I once wondered how long it would take to create my own value to repay the dean. Although everything is fine, as long as you say a word, you can give up everything. You are my admiral. I can't refuse any request you make. I just want to abandon everything and just be by your side. I thought my expectations would always come true." Akagi put a hand on the dining table. The hand was like catkin and the skin was like cream. Sugu saw the left hand without any decoration and fell into thinking. After all, he is an admiral who has a lot of affection, and the ship girl is a life different from ordinary women. She has her own worldview as soon as she is awakened. For ordinary women, if the man they like, no matter how much they like, gets married, they will give up in most cases. But for the ship girl, when the admiral gets married, he gets married, as long as he doesn't mind having an extra wedding ship. Sugu took a bite of chicken breast with chopsticks, and while eating, he thought, things are going to be difficult. It was in the afternoon when Sugu was found by Saratoga. The girl didn't lose her temper. In fact, Saratoga never lost her temper casually. At this moment, she was like a wounded little animal, shaking Sugu's arm. Brother-in-law, brother-in-law, brother-in-law. I knew you would do nothing good if you followed Helena out, and you would be eaten up. You have only been out for a few days, and you gave her a ring. You think? Sugu explained. Although he didn't want to mention such a thing, he had no choice at this time. I used to poke Helena's chest and do that kind of hooligan thing, but a ring, if you don't give it to me, wouldn't it have a bad impact? But you already have us. Sugu was speechless. It was true. He had so many people. It would be a scumbag to remarry Helena, but it would be scumbag not to marry Helena. He was still thinking about how to explain, but Saratoga held his hand, her eyes shining brightly, and said, I don't care what happened in the past, just forget about her, and we will live a good life in the future. When Sugu heard his sister-in-law's words, his expression became quite strange. Why did this sentence sound so sad and so familiar? Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 298. Sugu looked strange because of Saratoga's words, but the girl Saratoga obviously didn't notice the impact her words had on Sugu. She sat next to Sugu. Lu Yeme raised her eyebrows, and said, My brother-in-law just took a fancy to Helena's breasts. That coquettish man just used some tricks and he took the bait. The Prince of Wales used to be like that, so he changed into a swimsuit. You gave the ring immediately. Sugu looked at Saratoga. The girl's breasts were also quite large, but they were still small compared to Helena and the Prince of Wales. However, it was obvious that he couldn't get into trouble at this time, so Sugu said, No. Saratoga frowned coldly and said, You are. Sugu and Saratoga looked at each other, looking at that cold and pretty face. They had no choice but to say, Okay, that's it. Sadder. If you insist on me admitting it, what can I do? Sugu was silent. Saratoga obviously would not let Sugu go so easily. She said, Then who are you going to marry in the future? Have no idea. At this time, shouldn't you say that you only love me and won't marry anyone? Sugu thought of Shishan's face. Personally speaking, if he hadn't gotten the relationship with the game, he would not be worthy of such a gentle and dignified woman like an ancient maid. But since you already like yourself, of course you have to work hard to respond. Although you may not be able to match them even if you work hard, you must at least work hard. Anyway, we can't rely on the goodwill brought by the game to do whatever we want. Saratoga looked at Sugu and said nothing. She stretched out her hand to push Sugu and said, Even if you don't agree, you still have to coax me. You have already done this. Sugu swayed his body along with Saratoga's movements, and when he heard the girl's voice, he thought to himself that his sister-in-law was getting cuter and cuter. My sister-in-law must be coaxed, but actually after spending so much time together, Saratoga's character is 100% likable. And being jealous of you is a bonus. Sister-in-law Saratoga certainly likes it. He didn't dare to promise easily, but he couldn't be stingy with his words. Sugu said, I like Saratoga the most. Then how do I compare with my sister? Lexington is no match for you. Then brother-in-law, please give me a hug. Before Sugu made a move, Saratoga took the lead and hugged him. Sugu's body stiffened for a few seconds, and after some thought he put his hands on the girl's back. After all, it would be a jerk not to respond at this time. Sugu hugged Saratoga, feeling the soft touch on his chest, and then he saw Lexington standing in front. I got Helena's, Rafi's, and Kent's rooms all sorted, Lexington said. Sugu let go of Saratoga and saw his sister-in-law snickering. After being away for a few days, it took a long time to come back, and leaving the garrison to Lexington could make people feel completely at ease. A feast was held to welcome everyone back, and everyone's accommodation was arranged. There was nothing superfluous for the whole day. At night, Sugu tidied his room. After all, his room had been occupied by Bazai for many days. Before the room was tidied up, Xiao Zai came over and said, "Admiral." Seeing Xiao Zai at this time, Sugu immediately reached out and patted Xiao Zai's face. Sugu said, "Will you sleep with me tonight?" Lafite could barely be considered a girl, and it was really difficult to hold her. If anyone wanted to hold her, it would be Xiao Zai. Xiao Zai shook his head and said, "I want to sleep with Lafite tonight. If you can't hold her to sleep at night, let's hold her for now to add some elements of a small home." However, Xiao Zai just said a word and ran away, and the idea of adding Xiao Zai elements was ruined. "You ran over, said something and then left. If you provoke someone, you have to be responsible. The world is declining, and people's hearts are not as old as they used to be." Sugu continued to clean up the room, thinking that if the small house couldn't do it, then he might as well find a submarine. It's just that if they don't come over on their own initiative, it would be a bit too crazy to take the initiative. Ordinarily, it doesn't matter. Young girls like this kind of behavior, and he doesn't do anything excessive, he just gives it a hug. The subsequent plan to find the submarine girl also came to nothing because Sugu saw Lexington. Lexington walked into the room wearing a purple nightgown and said, "The Admiral married Helena. Well, there's nothing I can do about it. As an admiral, there are many ship girls who like you. Rejecting him cruelly is a kind of harm. There is nothing you can do about the ship girls who have been married to many." As expected, it was Lexington who was gentle and considerate. Sugu nodded repeatedly, and then Lexington stretched out his hand and tapped his forehead. Lexington said, "How can there be a person like you who gets an advantage and still behaves well? Okay, I'm sorry. I just hope you don't get a new person and forget about the old one." "When did I forget you?" "Then feel your conscience." "Who said just now, Gaga, Lexington can't compare to you at all?" Lexington imitated Sugu's tone vividly. Sugu was disheartened and knew that he could not take it lightly in front of his sister-in-law at any time. Lexington continued, "Although there is something wrong with me, Gaga is still your wedding ship, and occasionally you have to do some intimate actions. Let's not talk about kisses and hugs, but at least touch them occasionally." Head. "Kisses and hugs are available, please rest assured." Sugu said, "Gia is not a child." "Then she's not an adult." Lexington sat down by the bed and said, "I have no objection to you giving Helena a ring. You treated her like that before, and she should have gotten the ring long ago, but have you done it with Helena?" "No. It's obviously already a wedding. If I hadn't taken the initiative to find you at that time, when would you know how to take on the responsibility of being a husband?" "It shouldn't be too long. I won't let Lexington out." "It's better to say that I won't let anyone out. It's just that you still need an opportunity to do those things." Lexington said, "But I don't believe you when you say you didn't push Helena down. I told you he is a gentleman." "Still don't believe it?" Sugu snickered, "Why don't you turn off the lights and give it a try?" Lexington punched Sugu lightly on the chest and said, "I really don't believe it this time." At night, after a long time, Sugu hugged Lexington and fell asleep together. He suddenly thought of a question. When the Lexington night raid locked the door, it was done in one step, and he was like a hero on an aircraft carrier. Looking back at Saratoga at this time, she was dawdling. Even if it was a night attack, she only dared to sleep next to her in her underwear. Otherwise, I would not be able to distinguish the occasion, and my chain would fall off at a critical moment. At that time, my head would hit the wall, which would cause pain for many days. Helena came running over in anger, and all she needed was a hug and everything was settled. After all, a sister-in-law is just a sister-in-law. Saratoga, compared to your sister, her moral knowledge is very shallow. Of course, I really like such a powerful Lexington. At night, Lexington said, Admiral, go to bed early, I have to get up early tomorrow. It's okay, just get some more sleep tomorrow. I'm going to help Prince Eugen for breakfast tomorrow. Leave the cafeteria to San Juan. Haven't you noticed by now that she's not back? Sugu remained silent, guilty. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 299. Sugu followed Helena to the ship girl headquarters. He first met with Lafayette, and then completed the related matters of reimbursing resources. When it was time to make a report, when it was time to sign, he finally went to Kent. Although there was no danger, the process of finding Kent was full of ups and downs. He left with Kent and even proposed to Helena, although he didn't experience the wonderful wedding night. All in all, this trip took many days. At this time, I was talking to Lexington in bed at night, and it was only at this time that I remembered that my ship girl San Juan had never come back. As an admiral, it is indeed a bit irresponsible to not even know whether his ship's wife is there or not. However, for Sugu, it is more or less necessary to argue. This day passed with great anxiety. First I talked to Akagi, and after listening to the words of Akagi, who was as elegant and dignified as an ancient lady, I felt ashamed all afternoon. Then he met Saratoga, exchanged some words and got closer to the girl, but was manipulated again. By evening Lexington came again and things never stopped. York City spoke freely, and Lafayette gave him a hard lesson in the afternoon. However, York City still didn't call her sister Lafayette, and when she got there, she even said that she was acting like a rogue, just like the Admiral. Compared with York City, which has a strong presence, San Juan's character actually seems a bit lost in the crowd. She doesn't like to play around like a little girl, nor does she like to be clingy like Saratoga. It's not as lazy as Baizai, who needs to be reminded and taken care of at all times. San Juan can do anything by himself, just like when he was a passenger ship guard, he lived well by himself and made a lot of money. She can help the garrison handle many things, but when it comes to handling things, compared to Lexington and counterattack, her ability and presence are insufficient. San Juan is good at everything and nothing stands out. He sometimes seems to be transparent in the town hall. Back then, it was quite common in games, and there weren't as many fan creations as there were with Quincy. Overall, she is an easy to ignore girl. In the dark night, when Lexington talked about San Juan, Sugu felt a little ashamed. He put his arm around Lexington's smooth shoulders and said, San Juan went out with Leipzig, right? Yes. No wonder I always feel like something is missing. It's almost time for them to come back after being gone for so many days. I don't know, Admiral, don't breathe on my neck, it's itchy. Why do you feel itchy? Sugu breathed out again. Lexington turned around on the bed, held Sugu's palm with both hands, and said softly, it seems that you don't want to sleep, Admiral. Only the exhausted cows did not plow the fields. Sugu quickly said seriously, stop making trouble, go to sleep. Until he fell asleep, Sugu suddenly thought that even if he knew that San Juan had not come back yet, there was nothing he could do to help her, so forget it. On the 17th, this was the first day that the girl San Juan set out to find her sisters. In fact, apart from the joy of seeing her sister soon, the girl also felt a little aggrieved. Helena brought back a lot of information. The Admiral wanted to follow Helena, but his sisters were far away. It would take a long time to go back and forth, so I suggested that we simply divide the troops into two groups. The Admiral was about to leave, and everyone in the garrison wanted to follow him. Saratoga, Counterattack, and even Bismarck all wanted to follow him. but when it was his turn to go out, they all stopped talking. In the end, there was no way to find Leipzig. They said that there was an opportunity to travel at public expense, and that they could be reimbursed and issued false invoices. Hearing this, Leipzig agreed. After all, by issuing fake invoices and then reimbursing them, you can get a lot of money. Leipzig's eyes widened, and if she were to express it in a cartoon, there were already banknotes in her eyes. The address given by Helena is far away. Of course, you can directly use the power of the ship to sail there. However, the distance was a bit far, and consuming resources seemed a bit uneconomical in the past. In addition, the sailing journey was indeed a bit boring. Why is it so troublesome to navigate the vast sea when something can be done with just a ticket? Just take a boat ticket, enjoy the sea breeze, enjoy delicious food, and have a comfortable sleep to reach your destination. Although San Juan didn't care much about pleasure, he had earned a lot of money working hard as a guard on passenger ships, and all of it was paid to the admiral. But if possible, I still like to take it easy. The plan to just enjoy the trip was ruined, as Leipzig refused to agree to the expensive boat tickets. The money given by the admiral was obviously enough for everyone to enjoy the favorable conditions along the way, but Leipzig insisted on living in a third-class cabin, and then kept saying, "I will live in a third-class cabin myself," and then reimburse the governor for the first-class cabin ticket, and then give the money by saving it. "I can save money again." Ask her what she wants to save money for? Gold can only exert its charm if it is placed in one's own house. Isn't money earned just to be spent, and isn't the value of currency just for circulation? Why should you spend the money you earn through your own skills? Wouldn't it be better to save all the money? Count it every night before going to bed and you will feel at ease. Anyway, San Juan can't understand what Leipzig's brain circuit is like a dragon greedy for money. We left the garrison on the 17th. In fact, we didn't officially board the ship until the morning of the 18th. The passenger ship was dallying all the way, stopping when something happened. It must be said that a deep-sea ship girl appeared in front of it, and it was a surprise. Finding someone by address is not a difficult task, and there is no need to go through 9 or 81 difficulties. There were no coincidences or accidents. Even if I had raised a flag beforehand and said, "After I find my sister, I will never have to run outside again," there were no surprises. After a smooth journey, we found our destination, took a boat to a nearby port, and then directly opened the ship and sailed to the small county town of our destination. The address Helena gave was very detailed. Following the address, it was easy to find a bakery or cake shop in Atlanta. "The bakery is hidden on the corner of the street," Leipzig said. "It looks like business is very good." San Juan wrinkled his nose cutely and said, "That's the store opened by my sister." Looking through the glass window, the store clerk inside was wearing beautiful clothes with his ears and tail exposed. Although there was no exposure at all, he looked very cute. However, this kind of store is obviously different from the surrounding style and seems a bit informal. Just as San Juan was about to go in, Leipzig said, "Wait a minute, I'm going to take a picture of all these things with my camera." "Why are you still carrying a camera?" "The purpose of bringing a camera is to capture every bit of the journey." "But when we were on the passenger ship, I didn't see you taking pictures at all." "Because those are of little value." "Then what is valuable?" "A beautiful girl with cat ears." San Juan looked at Leipzig and led the opponent out. He seemed to have made a very bad decision. Looking for the lost ship girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 300. Poplar trees line the street, and there is a creek next to the bakery on the corner. The river water is very clear, and one look at it can make people feel relaxed and happy. At this time, the sun shines on the small river beside the street, and the river surface is sparkling. You can go down to the river along the 2 steps, where there are people washing clothes and children playing barefoot. San Juan and Leipzig disembarked in the morning and arrived at the address Helena mentioned. It was not too early and they had already had breakfast on the roadside. Looking through the uncurtained glass window of the bakery, one can see the clerk inside. Although there was a long distance, San Juan could recognize them as his sisters at a glance. The girl with short blue hair is Atlanta, the girl with fluffy green curly hair is Santiago, and the girl with long red hair tied into a ponytail is Juno. All three are Corvettes and her sisters. San Juan had no intention of playing a prank, nor did he want to deliberately disguise himself and then suddenly show up to give his sisters a huge surprise. At this time, she confirmed that the person inside the bakery was her sister, and she immediately wanted to push the door open and give her a warm sisterly hug. Then when she walked to the door of the bakery, she reached out and pushed it, and suddenly found that the door was locked. San Juan felt the force coming back from his palm and said, "It's locked. It's not time to open the store yet." "But it's already 10 o'clock and they haven't opened the door yet." "It's impossible. A bakery is supposed to be a breakfast shop, but it's already past 10 o'clock, and the shop hasn't opened until this time. It's a bit too much." "But they have obviously been seen wearing shop assistant uniforms doing cleaning." "Wait, if they are cleaning at this time, then the store must not have opened yet," San Juan said, and she frowned. Leipzig suddenly saw the notice hanging on the wall and said, "Look here, there is a sign hanging on it. It says, closed on Monday, March 5th, indirectly closed on Tuesday, April 6th, and closed on Sunday." San Juan looked over, exhaled for a long time, and his vision went dark. He originally thought that his sister had opened a bakery, but in the end it was so unreliable. She said, "What kind of store are these? How do they rely on business? Is there a business crisis? That's not right. The bakery's business model is certainly not due to a business crisis. In fact, it is normal for a bakery to spend 3 days fishing and 2 days drying nets. Although this normal situation seems a little strange in the eyes of the people around him. But if we really want to trace the reason, the three sisters who run this small shop have no requirements for money. If you don't care about money, what kind of store should you open? This seems a bit strange. However, if insiders think of the identities of the three sisters, they are not ordinary people but ship girls, so it would not be surprising for such a situation to occur. For ordinary women, things that worry them are, for example, getting married when they get older. If you work outside, even if you come home occasionally, you will be asked, "Do you have a boyfriend? How's work going?" However, these problems are not a problem for the ship girls. It is enough for them to have an admiral. For ordinary women, starting from a young age, they have been studying, getting married, raising husbands and raising children. When they get older, in order to preserve their youth, they may smear their faces with whatever is useful or useless. No matter what you do, you need money. This is a worry for ordinary women. However, these problems are trivial in the eyes of the ship girl. If there is no crisis, there will be no pursuit, so this has resulted in a bakery that doesn't care about business at all. In fact, for the three sisters who run this small store, the initial idea was just to find something to do. The admiral disappeared and everyone left the garrison again. Shipgirls are creatures born in history and memory, like elves and heroic spirits in fantasy. Although he will not age like ordinary people, he will not be an immortal existence. Without expectations, pursuit, or nostalgia, one day it might suddenly disappear, just like it suddenly appeared when you woke up. However, even though the admiral is missing, he is just missing and not dead. The most basic pursuit is there. If you just want to survive better, you still need to pursue more. Under such circumstances, the three sisters bought a small building and started running a bakery. It is for this reason that I started running a bakery. There is no work intensity in the bakery. Sometimes I open the shop when I think of it. Sometimes I don't open the shop when I can't. We all go traveling together. However, even if the store is only opened occasionally, there will not be a business crisis, as San Juan said. I have to say that the business of the bakery is actually quite good. This is not because the bread is delicious, but the craftsmanship of the three sisters is actually average. The reason why the bakery has not closed down yet is actually because there is a beautiful girl with cat ears in the bakery. The bread doesn't need to be delicious, just having a beautiful girl with cat ears is enough. It doesn't matter if the price is erroneously marked, a beautiful girl with cat ears is enough. It doesn't matter if you open the shop for 1 day and then rest for 2 days, as long as you have a beautiful girl with cat ears. Yes, all it takes is a beautiful girl with cat ears. So what are the beautiful girls with cat ears doing now? Cat-eared beauty Atlanta, she fiddled with the decorative windmill on the counter and said, I have been resting for many days, so it should be open today. I will leave the baking to Juno. The cute girl with red hair and a single ponytail put her hands on her hips and said, do your own thing. Well, if you are really too busy, it doesn't matter if I help you. I really don't want to open the door, why don't we all go on a trip? The most reliable one among the three sisters is Santiago. She is holding a rag and trying hard to wipe the table. Because when wiping the tabletop, her arms were stretched too long, and the girl's breasts were pressed against the tabletop, squeezing the tabletop. Seeing this scene, Atlanta clapped his hands and said, yes, yes, Santiago, that's it. When you clean the table, your chest must be pressed against the table. As long as you have your hands, the bakery will not close down. Santiago was still shy easily, so she quickly stood up and said, Atlanta, don't talk nonsense. Atlanta shook his head noncommittally, and then said to Juno, is the bread baked? It can't be that fast. Think about it, it's really better to keep closing today. But I've already changed my clothes. They were talking like this, and then they heard a knock on the door. Atlanta said, someone came here so early. Atlanta, open the door. Juno didn't care about the identity of Atlanta's eldest sister at all. Then I will tell the customers that we will not be open today. Santiago complained, obviously my table has been wiped clean. An ordinary small bakery does not have a beautifully decorated whole glass door. The bakery just installs an ordinary wooden door. Ordinary wooden doors don't have peepholes. If you want to see who's coming, you have to go over and open the door. Atlanta slowly moved to the door, she opened the door a crack and said, sorry, it's closed today. After explaining this, she was about to close the door when she suddenly saw a pink-haired girl standing at the door, with a very familiar appearance. Hi Sister Atlanta. Are you San Juan? Old girl.